Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and so glad you're with us to stay curious this Monday with Alex Karl. He is with ESA, the European Space Agency, as a crew support member for the Crew 4 launch we're looking forward to Wednesday morning, and he's also what they call a Eurocom, talks to the astronauts of ESA. So welcome. Great to see you, Karl. Alex Karl. I keep calling him by his last name. Alex, good to see you.
Thanks, Mark. It's good to be back.
Well, when was the last time we saw each other?
That must have been in November for the launch of Crew 3.
That's right. But he came into our museum. We met Alex and hit it off right away. You love our museum, I know.
It's awesome. So much things here. You have to really come back to appreciate it all.
Yeah, all one-of-a-kind things too. Things you never see anywhere else, like the component that short-circuited out on Gemini 8 and flung them orbiting, them spinning around there, and things like that. But we also talked to Alex via Google Meets when he was in his home of Cologne, Germany. And we wanted to thank first our Hyatt Place Hotel for sponsoring the American Space Museum Stay Curious here in our downtown Titusville museum. We hope that you're enjoying this on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, or Spotify. And tell your friends to follow, share, subscribe, and like us, because that helps us in a nonprofit monetize all this. And Alex, we've been doing, this is our 550th episode or so.
Very nice.
2 years, quite a few in there. But we want to let's show a couple of what we have behind us here. Describe what we have behind us on our green screen.
So what we see here is the training hall in the European Astronaut Center in Cologne.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all the astronauts who go on the International Space Station get trained on the use of the European Columbus payloads and systems. And depending on their role, of course, an ESA astronaut will be more involved than other crew members. So there are different levels of specialization, if you want. And but every crew member passes through there and gets their training on Columbus hardware.
Well, that's pretty cool. It's a state-of-the-art stuff, always changing out there. So there's where the European astronauts train. We've had a couple minor computer glitches here today. On our Stay Curious studios here. Marty's engineering that. Marty, I can see the names of our fans up there. Larry Pushker, hello there, getting our week started off right. No Stargazer Mark today because we're talking to someone that talks to European astronauts on the space station. Alex, tell us a little bit about those duties as Eurocom, and then you're doing something else here on the Space Coast to support Samantha Cristofetti.
Right, Mark. So as you mentioned, I work at the European Space Agency's European Astronaut Center as a contractor. And two of my main roles there is crew support and Eurocom. And Eurocom, it's similar in a way to the NASA Capcom. We interface with them. So every time a crew member uses European equipment and has either a question or needs to call down to report some readings, myself or the team I work with take the call and try to help out. So that's a lot of fun talking directly to the astronauts. And
is it mostly business, or do they just need to chit chat sometimes for their own sanity, which I could see,
It is mostly business. There is some wiggle room to wish them a good morning or put in an appropriate, maybe less business sentence in there if it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one time over Christmas actually that was fun. They played bingo over the voice loops. So
you played bingo with who?
With the astronauts up there.
Okay.
So it was actually all the control centers, and it was over the Christmas holidays. And we had several bingo sheets divided by theme, and I believe this one was sci-fi movies.
Okay.
So every person on ground who wanted to play along printed out a randomized sheet of certain quotes, movie quotes from science fiction movies. and then the crew tried to sneak them into the regular communications. And you had to spot when they were using a quote and make your cross. And so we were playing Space Bingo. That was very,
Wow, that's
very
kind of
interesting
interesting.
and a lot
So
of
any
fun.
the so Matthias Maurer is your European space. I know I
Yes,
didn't say his name right.
correct.
How do you say his name?
He's Matthias Maurer.
Matthias Maurer. Okay. He's the one that's coming back that you've been dealing with then. So he's filling out his bingo card with everybody else up there.
Yeah, it was a little to lighten the mood over the holidays.
Yeah.
So it's not a everyday thing, of course, but it was a lot of fun also for the crew,
Space
which is
bingo.
important. Yeah.
How about that, Tom Usiak there in Lancaster, Pennsylvania? Didn't know that you'd learn that on Stay Curious today. And Robert Law is in Dundee, Scotland. He says, nice to see Alex back on. They all remember your visit with us back in February is when we did an episode and talked to you in Cologne, Germany. We're going to see a little of that in a minute. Bonjour to Ophelia Sauterelle. She is in Normandy, France. A good evening from Space Resources. And we'd love to share some resources. Happy Monday to you, Mark Usiak. We're all waiting. Those are two photographers, Tom and Mark Usiak. You've heard us talk about on our show. Photographed over 70 shuttle launches for magazines and professional publications, and they're all anxious about when the SLS is getting pulled back in. So we'll talk about that here in a minute, everybody. So let's look at a couple other pictures here. There's you and myself. We met at the Gemini Monument, and love remembering our Gemini mission. So important to our space program. And there's the Rhine River
That's right.
going through Cologne, Germany, and the ESA. So I keep saying ESA, okay, to my new friend here, and this is why we build bridges, you know. As he says, Mark, it's ESA. It's like NASA. No one says NASA, and so it is ESA from now on. Yes, Marty.
Keep on that side. You put your hand out here.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, well, I will. We're ruining our illusion there. But there's your office, Alex. Tell us a little bit about the office for ESA.
Yes. So
There's other centers
yes.
like NASA. So this is
exactly. That is a good analogy. So like NASA, ESA has several different centers located throughout Europe, and this is the one that is the home to the European astronauts, and is appropriately called the European Astronaut Center.
okay.
And
Equivalent to our Houston, then, rather.
in a way, yes, a lot smaller.
Right.
But it's where our trainings happens. We have a neutral buoyancy tank. We do have our whole space medicine department is located there. Also, we do the rehabilitation there when Matthias is coming back, hopefully next week. We take care of him there for the first couple
Okay.
of weeks.
A couple weeks, huh?
Yeah,
Of course, you've got that all figured out because so many of them now routinely been up 5-6 months.
it's still new, and we're not used to the cadence. Usually we had like one flight per year roughly, and now we had will have three missions back to back to back.
Okay.
So that's a whole new experience for the European side. We also have the whole training department there.
Should be playing more bingo with him to get when he gets back training in there.
Who knows? And then also the crew support. That's where I work, is also in that building.
Sweet. What have I got next up here? Oh, we got our crew up there. Okay. And you got the arrow there, Marty, to point out second from the right is Matthias. There we go.
Yeah, that's
There,
Matthias.
that's him there. And we've got the Kayla Barron there's coming back, and she is an Artemis astronaut. And you have Chari on the far left was the commander, and Mashburn, an experienced shuttle astronaut. All of these crews have had an experienced shuttle commander on them, or pilot, with So how does that come into the mix? That is America's involvement as our commercial space programs, what I'm trying to spit out there. So what can you characterize about this entire mission? Nominal? I mean, we're not asking you any of the problems they've had, kind of any anecdotes about the success of it. No news is good news, I guess, to the public when it comes to space.
Yeah, no, of course, this, so this is Crew 3, so as part of Expedition 66 mainly, and is still up there on the home stretch before they come home. And I think it was a great increment. Matthias actually had his first EVA,
Oh, okay.
and he did mention that was one of the highlights for him.
Wanted to show this patch here.
All right.
That very, very interestingly, each European crew, all right, names their mission. So it's a mission named within the mission. And this mission of Matthias, Cosmic Kiss. And y'all look this up. This is a cool patch. Tell us a little about that, Alex.
Yeah, that's really, it's spanning the past with the future, so to speak. So as you mentioned, each crew member, European crew member, can choose their own mission or name, theme, and design. So Matthias chose this, and what you see here is mainly the representation of the Nebra sky disk. That's a prehistoric artifact that was found in Germany. It's, I believe, from the Bronze Age. It's about 4,000 years old, and it's the first
Nabis?
the Nebra sky disk.
The Nebra sky disk.
And
okay.
it's the first depiction of the night sky in an artifact that we have.
Wow.
So it connects the wonder of space that our ancestors must have had in the past to create such an interesting object with Matthias' mission, and you see the symbolized Earth and Moon, which are connected by a heartbeat, with also stylized ISS in there in red. And that's kind of the connecting love that Matthias has for space.
Yeah, KISS becomes ISS. And,
Yeah, so he wanted to express that and called it Cosmic Kiss.
yeah, very, 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 very neat. You gave me that in November. We keep it here as part of our good luck swag here on Stay Curious. We're glad you're all watching it there. And see, Larry Pusker's asking about our shuttle shirts, and we haven't gotten that together yet, Larry, with our staff, but we're going to try to figure out how much to charge for them, and shipping's always a big deal on that. So we'll get on that, Larry, and get you a 50th shirt from our Shuttle Fest that you attended Shuttle Fest.
Yes.
Tell our Stay Curious fans a little bit about what they missed.
You missed a great show. You missed about half. Well, I missed half. So, but the half I saw was really great. So once I'm back, I'll try to catch up with the half that I
On
didn't see
YouTube?
on
Yeah.
YouTube and see that, because what I saw was really super interesting. You had a full room there of interesting and interested people talking about past accomplishments, and there was so much anecdotes in there I hadn't heard before from different
Yeah.
people who were involved in the program over the years, and so it's really was really worth it.
Yeah.
So it's
And you being sort of you being a speaking type person and so forth. Hugh Harris was 89 years old, our master of ceremonies there, the voice of NASA. And he did a great job.
He did a really great job. He even surprised me with speaking a few words of German to me.
Oh, did he really?
He
Oh,
did,
okay. Good, yeah. Well, I didn't know he knew German in there. Hey, Gary Gerald, glad you're watching. Good afternoon. He's in South Georgia. Yep, we're having a good Monday. We're looking, after Stay Curious, I'll be going outside there and looking across the Indian River to see if they start pulling Artemis back a little bit. So we're going to talk about Samantha Cristofetti here in just a minute, but tell us a little more about your experience this couple weeks. Crew 4 has been pushed back and back a couple times, so that gives you a little longer time to be here on our Space Coast. But you're part of the crew support. But how about the buzz about the Artemis rocket out there? And I know you've driven by and seen it.
Well,
So tell us about that experience, Alex.
yeah, we have seen it. Unfortunately, not as close as I would have liked. But still, it's great to see a rocket that will take us back to the moon. And I'm saying us because NASA and ESA are working together. You know,
Absolutely.
the service module is
Service
Orion,
module is huge,
is
important.
European built, so
Yeah.
we're going together, which is great. And no, it's even if it's on the horizon, but you see the moon rocket, that's quite something.
Yeah, anywhere around here. Yeah, absolutely. It's it looks cool. Got its share of problems, but what new technology doesn't? So they'll pull it back into the garage and check under the hood and get the stuff fixed up, and it'll launch eventually. But you are a person that knows better than any of our Stay Curious people. This isn't easy. There's a lot that goes into human space exploration. Speak to that a little bit, Alex.
If I may say, it's actual rocket science. So, no, this is why we do unmanned tests, right? We want to make sure everything works and as we intended, so we can put people on there, and then do what we want to do, which is go back to the moon to stay.
And it's serious business. As I look here at my slide list there, we got the crew. I did have a Cosmic Kiss picture up there of that to show you the stars. Once again, this is an interpretation of the earliest known astronomical observation, for better words. Some caveman put this on a copper coin, or not coin.
No,
but
it's like
so like a big plate.
it's more like a plate size.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are depictions of stars in caves, and this is a bit more advanced. But yeah, it's definitely the oldest depiction that we know of, at least. Who knows what we may still find.
And so here is a beautiful patch. Everybody loves this patch. We'll probably sell out of them here at the museum. We've got T-shirts that we'll be selling at the launch. This is a crew that includes 2 rookies. Okay, we're trying to launch off here. Samantha Cristofetti, this will be her second flight. She has 299. She has 199 days in space, almost 200 on the space station, and that was back in. Remember when that was? Let's talk about her. We got the patch there with the crew. As we're looking at the crew, wanted to mention that the crew, go into my notes here, the commander Lindgren, Kyle Lindgren is the commander, his second space flight. Robert Hines is a NASA astronaut, first space flight. And then Samantha Cristofetti, she is her second space flight. And Jessica Watkins will be her first space flight. She's an Artemis astronaut. So you got 2 experienced and 2 rookies. And this is the 4th operational crew. And the European segment of the mission is called Minerva. All right. And there's the crew. There, as I should have been talking left to right there. The 2 women there, Samantha and Jessica, and then
Come on the right.
Lindgren's on the left, isn't he?
No, actually,
No, he's on the right.
Heinz is on the left.
Yeah,
and
Heinz is on
then
the
we
left.
have Samantha Cristofetti, Watkins, and Chad Lindgren on the right.
It is what time's the launch
At
schedule?
3:52 a.m. on
3:52
Wednesday.
a.m. Good for Europeans.
That is true.
Right, okay. So you got, what do we have, a 6-hour difference?
Yes, we do.
So that'll be a morning brekkie for most of you guys over there in Europe. So, and I'm looking to see how many times this rocket has flown.
From the top of my head, I have 4 in my head.
Yeah,
but I'm
mine
not
have-
sure if it's true, but I know that it's a brand new capsule.
This is a brand new capsule.
Yes.
Okay.
So they got to choose the name.
And
Freedom.
Freedom. Okay. Good, Freedom. Here's a stylized crew poster. We love these kind of things when you can find them. They look cool in your space cave. Discover the International Space Station. Exciting spacewalks. What's the guy? Astounding views, of course, on there. So astronauts have a lot of fun. It's a serious job. But there is Samantha up in the cupola of the space station when she was on expedition 4243. That would have been in November of 2014 is when she went up in a Soyuz space capsule. So she's probably a little more room in the Crew Dragon than there was in that Soyuz, but that's interesting.
Yeah, a bit more leg space this
She
time.
had the record for a while of most of in space. It was beaten by Peggy Whitson and then Christina Cook. So her first mission was called Futura, all right, and this one's called Minerva, all right. And if you go to the close up there, I'm going to show you the Minerva space patch. Got some green on it. It looks like, yep.
Yeah.
Going through the green screen
Yeah.
there.
So Minerva is the goddess of wisdom in Greek mythology. So Samantha chose that to stress her involvement with science that the mission is about. And it's a stylized owl. So you see the moon and the Earth are forming the eye, and then the beak is like an ISS, the solar panels,
Oh wow!
with different colors. That means we're expanding out in our knowledge and our reach into the universe.
Minerva's sacred owl is the key feature of Samantha's mission patch. It says there too. So yeah, cool. Well, we'll look for that. That cosmic kiss is ending. Minerva is starting, and I think that's interesting. That now that you're ramping up with more astronauts, like you said, you know, you were lucky to have one, or you didn't even have one mission a year, and now you're having at least 3 a year, probably.
Yeah, that was definitely a new experience. And just one word to the background picture, you will notice that Samantha is wearing a Starfleet Star Trek uniform.
Yeah, yes, I did notice that.
Yes.
And we have our technical lady, Trekkie, we call her, because she's so into Star Trek. That's the science officers are blue. That's the
Yes,
commander.
That's the commanders. Yeah.
Aha.
And but there's one funny thing about her her expeditions actually, because as you mentioned, her first time on the ISS was Expedition 42,
Yes.
and I guess as science fiction fans, you will recognize the number 42, which is the answer to everything in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Aha.
So she liked that, and the crew logo back then was also a depiction of the movie poster. And now it is increment 67, and if you multiply 6 by 7, you get what, Mark?
42.
There we go.
Wow, that is some kismet. Even her Wikipedia references to her Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on her shirt, while her crewmate had a shirt with the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything being 42. All right. Well, very, very interesting there. The Star Trek world and the real space world always seems to intertwine in there.
Yeah.
And so good. Well, here we want to say hi to Scott Pook is watching us in Hobart, Australia. Alex.
Good morning, Scott.
Yeah. Good morning. How is Tuesday already going on there? Where are you going to watch the launch from?
We gonna be at Banana Creek.
Mm-hmm.
At the bleachers there. So as part of the crew support, we make sure that Samantha's guests or her friends and family are being taken care of, and they have a bus ticket to go to Banana Creek and watch the launch from there. So we make sure they get on the right bus and don't miss the launch.
There she is in a new type of sleeping bag that when she was on the space station, her last mission. And
yeah, she was doing a lot of outreach. As you can imagine, Samantha is currently the only female astronaut we have in the European Astronaut Corps.
Okay.
We currently have a new selection ongoing, so hopefully there will be some more at the end of the year. So she's in Europe quite a role model for young girls, and they actually made a a Barbie doll that looks like her.
Oh, really? All right. I can imagine that. Yes, that's a lot of responsibility too. Let's see. She was born in 77, so
Actually, her birthday is tomorrow.
her birthday is tomorrow. Wow, April 26th, born in Milan, Italy. We'll give her a shout out on Stay Curious, as we like giving astronaut birthdays a shout out. So 77, that makes her, what's the math on that?
That
Five, she's
45.
45. She looks like young 45. Have you interacted with her much personally? Can you tell us about her personality?
Well, her office is right next to my office. However, because of Corona and COVID, we haven't been in the office much.
Uh-huh.
And then she was assigned, and then she's been training a lot. So my only interaction with her has been virtual, as part of the Eurocom briefing, for example, and some other short interactions. But I didn't have a chance to interact a lot with her.
As a
during the
Eurocom,
last
do
2 years.
you send messages from her family and friends, or is that on a personal?
No, this would fall more under my crew support hat.
Okay.
So there we arrange for the families, once a week they have a video call set up, and then we as crew support, we arrange with the NASA folks. They tell us the available compasses when the coverage of the teeter satellites is good.
Mm-hmm.
They make a little table, and then the family can pick when it suits best for them, and then they arrange the call. So
Here
that
we've got a
she-
picture of you in our museum when you're here in November, taking a call from space, ha ha ha, at our consoles there, our fueling station. That it's cool that we have the real stuff like that there. That
Yeah,
was actually in the
definitely.
launch control, ready to be taken to a waste landfill, basically, when we got a hold of it there. But tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here, Alex.
Yes, so this is again in the European Astronaut Center. There is a control room where the Eurocom sit. Usually we're just one person on console, but sometimes we have people in training or visitors, or we have support from the medical team. As what is different from the Eurocoms with the Capcoms is that our role also encompasses crew wellness, and we're kind of the eyes and ears of the flight surgeons. And then they would have a weekly medical conference with the astronaut, and sometimes support medical activities that are happening, like ultrasounds or some eye exams, and then a specialist comes in, and they have their own special room so that the medical privacy is guaranteed. But we help them a bit in case there are technical issues. We try to arrange that they have what they need to look at what's going on. But this is our setup.
Now, there's a bigger
Here.
console I've seen in Paris. Is that where the headquarters are?
In Paris
or-
is the ESA headquarters. That is
It
true.
looks what's yeah. I'm looking at a room that looks more like Houston's.
Oh, this
ISS
is
control.
this is probably down in French Guiana, the Ariane Launch Control Center.
Okay.
They have quite a bigger room. Yes.
Okay. But the center is Paris, or
No, this is so French Guiana belongs to France,
right?
or is part of France. And so because it's closer to the equator, Europe launches from there to get the extra swing of the Earth's rotation, to put more payload or less fuel. And that is then controlled directly from there.
Off the coast of South America.
Yeah.
And so, why didn't they ever want to launch humans from there? For ESA to develop a human rated.
They did. There were some plans in the 80s. It was called Hermes.
Yeah,
That was
Hermes.
supposed to go
Little
on
space
top
plane.
of the Ariane plane, but then of course you need to find the budget and the usual political delicacies that need to be taken into account, and with other things and budget allocation in the end, that didn't work out. But I think they might be looking into that again in the future. not the Hermes, but in general, to see if human spaceflight might be something we want to add. It's an open question. They're looking into it.
We're talking to Alex Karl. He's on the support crew for the launch of the 4 astronauts going to the space station Wednesday morning at 3:52 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that includes the ESA astronaut Samantha Cristofetti, very experienced astronaut, and though her missions here are 8 years apart, long time to wait for another mission. So I bet she's raring to go on there. You had the opportunity to. I was going to bring this up here. We were looking at that. You had the opportunity. This is the Crew 66, Expedition 66 that is ending. Technically, you still have the Expedition 3 crew. I mean, the Crew 3 up there will end this officially when Crew 4 gets up there. So, when are they coming back?
They are coming back next week.
Next week.
It depends, of course, when Crew 4 launches. So hopefully on Wednesday. And then there's a couple of days of handover, and then Crew 3 would be coming back.
So we have on station now, we have, that was stationed just a couple days ago when we had 11 human beings on the space station. And we got rid of 4 this morning. You were somewhere, I think, watching a TV where they came down, or not this morning, it's 1 o'clock this afternoon. And those are the private crew in the back. And then you've got your Expedition 66/67 astronauts all the way around in there. So what's it like to have 11 people up there? Now they're down to
7
7
again. Yeah. No, obviously it's quite crowded, and it needs a lot of coordination. But it's showing where we're going, right? So I guess we need a bigger house.
But need a bigger house. Need a bigger house. Now, when there's not a European astronaut on station, do other astronauts are they asked to use some of the equipment of Europe to continue an experiment or things like that?
Yes. So they usually astronauts get asked whether they want to participate in a certain experiment, and then they have the choice to say yes or no. And so some of the non-European astronauts also participate in European experiments to get the data point, especially for physiological experiments. You want to have at least a large enough sample size to get meaningful data when you look at that. So we do have also NASA astronauts participating.
We're enjoying a conversation with Alex Karl. There's the ESA patch of the 17, I believe, participating countries in the cupola. That Samantha can't wait to get back in there, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
And look around there. And she'll be talking to you up there some of the time. How many other Eurocoms are there on a shift, so to speak?
Well, we have 12 in our team. And there's usually 1 per shift. In some cases, we might have 2. If there's really a lot going on, we had that recently when the Axiom 1 crew they did some media events using European equipment. So we had 1 person taking care of that and another person taking care of the regular business, so to speak.
Yeah, how does that work? These are, of course, this is something new territory again. The Axiom crew actually paid to go to space. They got an extra week out of it almost. Okay, yeah. I wonder if they're gonna get charged for that. But what's the dynamics of that, Alex? I mean, is this something where everyone just grins and bears it in the real space world, or are we welcoming these? They're not intruders, are they?
It's definitely new territory. So I think everybody is on a learning curve, and things are not. So they're not professional government astronauts. They did have training, but you can see the the difference to the professional astronauts who had years of training compared to the months of training. So there's still a clear difference. And on more than one occasion, the Axiom crew really thanked the Crew 3 crew members for their help and support while they're up there. So there's certainly lessons learned, how this is working. I mean, they went up and had a full schedule right from day one, and they might look into maybe starting a bit slower to just give time to accommodate
Acclimate to
everyone.
space.
Yeah,
I
to
mean,
like,
space
let's-
sickness is a real thing. I mean, some people don't get it, but others
Right.
obviously do.
But even if you're not sick, you have to reorient yourself
Yeah.
and relearn certain things. So it's sure, if you're sick, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
But even without getting sick, I think
Like how to fly.
to,
You have to learn how to fly through all those great little,
for example, yeah.
all those great space labs and so forth in there. Yeah, I bet the training these guys go through is just basically probably don't touch that, don't touch that, don't touch that, don't touch that.
I haven't been part of the training, so I cannot answer that question.
Okay.
But I do know they took some of their own experiment with them, so I guess they probably trained on that.
Yeah.
There are things I can see them could train a little bit more on to make things maybe more efficient next time. But I'm sure that Axiom and NASA and whoever else was involved will sit together and say like, okay, now we got our first data point, which was a great experience opening the ISS up to commercial crew, and then see maybe how this can be next time, like iron out the wrinkles a bit.
So there will be a lessons learned follow-up.
I'm
that
sure.
people will communicate with each
I mean,
other.
they're always, even for our regular flights, we do lessons learned afterwards. We always want to improve, right? And see, hey, what didn't work so well? What could we do better? So that's regardless whether that's private astronauts or professional astronauts. That is being done. As the more we learn living and working in space, the more we can do once we figure out how to do this better.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this conversation with Alex Karl, becoming a great friend of our museum. Of course, I asked Alex a little bit off camera about the Russian situation with the Ukraine war going on there, and just tell me what, we don't want to broach that out of the privacy of these individuals on space there, and you've been instructed to slap any journalist that asks you anything about it. No, but just generally give me the party line on that.
No, so we are,
Which we appreciate. I think we understand exactly. This is a very sensitive situation, and Van de Hey had no problem getting back to Earth in a Russian space capsule, landing on Russian. I think the scientific professional world seems to rise above the horrible politics of war and such.
right. So in space, we're partners. We work together. So, and with we, I mean all the international partners. So from JAXA, Roscosmos, NASA, ESA, CSA, and we need each other up there. It's not you hear a lot of talk on the internet and social media, and most of the things are not even feasible because that's not how things are connected or work. So it's a fact that we're cooperating in space, and we need to continue to cooperate.
Well, all right, that's a beautiful way to say it. But I had to ask a little bit about it because, and we all know space is the place for diversity and no borders and just it looks easy, folks. It really does. They're making it look pretty easy, but you'd say we just got a thin blue line protecting our people on the Earth, and there's just a thin hull of a spaceship between life and death and calamity. And frankly, I think it is quite a tribute to the international cooperation. 21 years continuously occupying the space station with no even close calls of problems on there. where the Salyut and the Mir space stations both had plenty of problems on there. What do you think about my comment?
Yeah, I want to say that, as you said, 21 years, that's a long time. I'm not sure if I got the math right, but I'm daring to say half of the world's population doesn't know a time when there was no human in space.
That's a good way to put it, or a good percentage of the human population. Anyone that is 21 years old or over, has known humans to be in space, and that's an amazing thing. Amazing thing to baby boomers like me and Marty here. So let's see, we got a question from Mark Usiak. When the European astronauts return to their home turf, do they tour around to different schools and businesses to talk about their experiences? Good question, Mark Usiak.
Yes. So, of course, when they return, first, the mission continues because, on the one hand, they need to readapt to gravity. So they have their rehabilitation program ongoing. And they get visits by a lot of scientists who want to compare, when they just returned from space, how usually the physiological experiments, so they might be taking some blood samples or doing certain kinds of experiments just to compare before the flight, during the flight, and after the flight, so that they get a nice data set. So that is then the first, I think, 2 months or so, 3 months. They have a lot of that, including a lot of debriefings from all kinds of positions. They have debriefings in Europe. They have debriefings at Houston with NASA. Just again, to learn, to hear firsthand from the teams. They make a list of questions they want to ask the astronauts coming back, and just see like what worked well, what didn't work well, what can we improve, and to continually improve on that. And once they're done with that, they get some deserved holidays. So a couple of days off or weeks. And then they usually, they do 2 schools. I'm not too familiar with how much that is planned. So I don't know if you're asking if you want to invite one of our astronauts to your school, perhaps, or to someone's school that you know. There's actually a website on the ESA website where you can request this, for example. Because also for journalists, if they want to talk to an astronaut, there's an online system where you request this, and then our PAO team goes through them and looks for certain things, and then makes it happen or not for whatever reason.
Well, we, like I said, we've enjoyed talking to you. Want to end here, talk just a couple more minutes about Christa Foley here, Forte. Let's get a picture of her up there. She has a 6-year-old daughter, and you got to, let's get her in the cupola there with her Star Trek outfit on there. She has a 6-year-old daughter born in Cologne, Germany, and she can speak Italian, English, German, French, and Russian, and Chinese. Throw some Chinese in there too. Pretty smart lady there.
Yes, so, definitely.
Tell us about waving goodbye to them the other night across the ditch, the annual tradition.
Yeah, it's a tradition left over from the shuttle area. Back then it was called Wave Across the Ditch. The ditch has disappeared, so now we're waving across the street. So what happens is that each crew member can invite a certain number of friends and family. And those people then come here, and NASA arranges a meeting with the astronauts right next to the launch pad, so people can see the rocket that they will use to go to space with in just a couple of days. And it's about 20 minutes, and family and friends then, so there's a distance for quarantine reasons, and it's in the open air. But there's an opportunity to interact with the crew members and the friends and families, and it's usually the last time they get to see each other. There is one more for very close family the following day, so the behind the glass visit. That's more there are only 4 people invited.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is then for all the friends. So they it's really like an emotional support for the astronauts who see their friends and family in their wave, and sometimes they prepare little surprises. They, I don't know, they dress up a certain way. They have banners. They sing a song or play music or all kinds of things.
Something sentimental to the astronaut.
Yes, it's definitely a nice occasion to see friends and get
Anything
a little
like that
human
go on?
connection.
Anyone break out a guitar and sing her a song the other night?
Not this time. I heard of others. I think they were playing. I wasn't there, but I heard at one of those events somebody brought a trumpet and a guitar, I believe. They were playing something. So they, depending on the astronauts, and they know the friends obviously know them, so they bring something that's meaningful.
Yeah.
And
A cool tradition.
yeah.
Her launching on a Soyuz flight, she went through all the traditions of the Soyuz that they go
Yes.
through, which is more of a military type of ceremony in many ways. But space is fun, space is hard, and space is being conquered by just not the people that go up there, but great people on the ground here like Alex Karl. Pleasure to have you here, Alex, and we look forward to hooking up with you when you're back in Europe. We'll do a follow-up there. As we're trying to maybe on Stay Curious do once a month a program about ESA with some of the connections that we're making thanks to Carl and Rock Keat. Remember Rock Keat was on here about 3 weeks ago, Marty, talking about the Lunar Gateway. So and looking up there, see if we got any house cleaning chores. Anything I didn't ask you? Look, we've got Russians talking. Mike Ronaldo's like this. Thank you, Mike.
This might actually be Ukrainian.
Is that Ukrainian? Okay.
They're similar in letter, but they have 3 letters who are different, so or that are different.
We're looking at our monitor up here. And Alex Newman, thank you for watching. Met her over our 50th shuttle anniversary event. So we appreciate everybody reaching out and watching us on Stay Curious around the world, Alex. Is that amazing or not? That's why we love talking about ESA. And we're going to do more programs about ESA with you and our connections over across the pond. So anything you'd like to share? Good luck on the mission. We wish Samantha and the whole crew
Yes.
for a great launch. And
Go Crew 4.
go Crew 4. A 4 in-the-morning launch. Boy, you're going to be getting into mimosas or Bloody Marys or
No,
something.
we
in
really,
celebration.
here's one thing I want to mention, Mark. We really hope for a launch because now with all the slips, some of the guests already had to leave.
Oh, right.
So this is really, we have maybe half the guests of Samantha left because of all the slips.
Gotcha.
I mean, the wave across was still, pretty much everybody was there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nice. But it's just sad to see if people come here, they support the astronaut, and then they miss the launch in a way. Luckily, we had a Starlink launch the other day, just the same day of the wave across. So at least people who were there and now had to leave and don't see the actual launch of Samantha, at least they get to see a rocket launch. And some of them are traveling with kids who are excited about space.
Mm-hmm.
And there, it's just a shame if they miss a launch. So, and it's also for the astronaut, it's nicer to know, like, hey, all my friends are down there. So this is why I'm really hoping we're going to launch on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
there's a mixed bag of this Axiom crew, weather situations is all.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to have some lessons learned about scheduling things on there because one quick question, Alex. What do you personally think is the future of the International Space Station? Every month you're reading a story, well, we're going to deorbit it, or I kind of think one of the billionaires might buy it. Is it, after 2 decades, still in good shape? Well, what do you know about that? What do you think about it?
I know there are plans to extending the lifetime to 2030. But of course, it's technology that has a couple of years under its belt by now.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't think it will be there for 100 years.
The blueprints
Yeah.
of the ISS were on tables 30 years ago.
So
That they're,
so eventually it won't be, or it won't make sense to keep operating it.
Mhm.
Maybe a bit similar to the Mir space station, that at some point they said, no, we got everything out of this what we needed to, and we're moving on to the next thing. I'm expecting there will be some sort of transition period with maybe private space stations coming up.
With which Axiom wants to build one themselves.
For example, and I think there are other actors who are like working together to do that. But of course, it will be very different from the space station, and as it's private and maybe not crewed the whole time and just going up and down for certain short durations. So we really have to see. I can't predict the future.
But 8 more years at least.
Well, this is still, it's under discussion. Of course, all the partners have to agree. So far, they have done that. I mean, that's how we got to 21 years. But it's always sometimes more, sometimes less a struggle to do so. Or maybe struggle is not the right word, but different partners are looking at different things, and it needs to work for them as well, and they have to sell it to the taxpayers and their constituents.
Yes, Europe is the same as America. They've got all their political harangues and people favor and this and that and the other. And yeah,
it's the difference that we don't have just one country that is involved, but
got to deal with
a lot more
different financial systems, even in cases. And well, we've enjoyed the insight that Alex Karl brings to Stay Curious for all of you regulars out there. Please tell your friends to watch this on YouTube or our Facebook inventory there. And we're glad to have you here, buddy. All right.
Thanks
you
for
have a
having me,
great
Mark.
time. Well, we'll be having you some more, and stay in touch with me and send me a picture Wednesday morning of where you're watching that launch at there. So, Marty, thank you for a great job running our Streamlabs here. We had to go on the fly a little bit with a monitor that broke down that he usually uses. So we handled that well, and we learned a lot about ESA and the great job that they're doing up there in space. So again, thank you, Alex Karl, and until tomorrow, I'm Mark Marquette, and we will see you inside our museum soon to bridge the space between us.